Warning! This podcast contains robots. Howdy, everyone, and welcome to welcome to the ASOTV podcast for Westworld, Season 1, Episode 1, the original series premiere. I'm your host, Dom. With me is Mike and Nikki.
I don't know who that person is. He doesn't have a lower third.
No, he does not. Hello.
Mm-hmm. Hello. I am blank man. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Your opening, your intro kind of got me off guard.
It caught me off guard, too.
I know, that was a really forced howdy.
Howdy.
Really forced. I mean, if you were to, perfect it, you would actually have like a Western accent.
As you can tell, I 100% ad-libbed it on the spot. Had not had any plans for that, so.
If you had plans, I'm sure we would have known about it. We wouldn't have had our reaction, so.
No. So, okay, so let me start off by asking who here has watched the original 1973 film? Okay, so Nikki did. Mike is not. So, I have. I watched it years and years and years ago. So let me ask Nikki first. How do you feel the TV show lives up to the movie?
Okay. Just to preface, lot has changed since 1970 something.
Yeah.
The show is definitely a little bit more visual.
Okay.
As far as gore goes and stuff, it's pretty much on the same level. And I think, because a movie versus a TV show, there's not a lot of story element in the TV show yet, but I think it's holding up really well. It's really good. I expect this series to really go somewhere. I hope there's going to be another 10 seasons of it kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe, dabble in the other worlds that they actually touch on in the movie, which is what
in the original movie there was Roman world, there was medieval world, and there was Westworld, and they were all in very close proximity to each other that you could actually leave the boundary of the park and wander into the other ones. That there were definitely borders in place, but they were free borders. You knew when you were leaving the park, kind of thing. But based on what we've seen thus far, it doesn't appear that these other worlds are out there. That may not be the case. And then keep in mind, when the events of Westworld in the movie went bad, and everything went down, they still kept Roman world and medieval world, even though stuff happened in those two worlds as well. But they shut down Westworld indefinitely, and they opened up, in the sequel, they opened up Future World, which was basically living your dream out as in a...
like on a Star Trek station or something.
It was a spaceship, like a space station orbiting Earth kind of thing. So, it was like living out a fantasy dream, up there. And then there was a TV series called Beyond Westworld that ran for, I think it was 6 episodes, and
5 or 6.
8 were filmed, and 2 never saw air ever. And then even when they released them about 10 years ago out, maybe 6 years ago out on DVD, those 2 mystery episodes still never even showed up. So they've been hanging out in limbo. But Mike, let me ask you, for someone who's never watched anything or known really anything to do with Westworld, what did you think of the show?
Words escape me. Bloody fantastic so far.
Okay, so
it's an HBO series.
Yeah, that's very true. So you went in with what kind of expectations, Mike?
Just to get this out of the way, HBO series, I went in with the expectations of boobs everywhere.
Okay, you were not
the
disappointed.
opening shot, just All right. Yep. I know what kind of show this is going to be. Um, I don't know what I expected because I didn't really look too much into the old movie. I didn't really look too much into any of the promo stuff. I just, just the promos I saw on HBO airing since, last 6 months or so. And I'm getting the idea like, okay, so what is this? Is this a virtual reality thing? What's going on here? But,
Robots.
Yeah, robots. So, androids. It's in the future. It's a theme park for really rich people in the future.
Yeah.
And the robots could easily pass, or are becoming increasingly more realistic and could pass for human.
Okay, when he says really rich people, in 1973, for one day, you had to pay $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, this is modernized. This is like 40 years later after the movie.
They've not gotten into how much it costs to get into a daily thing on the TV series yet. But yeah, you're right. In the movie, it cost $1,000 a day to join the park. Mm-hmm. And there were stories of people who were mayor for, they were sheriff of the town for 2 weeks, Yeah. So.
All right. So in 1973 money, yeah, that's a lot. But I mean, they haven't even given us a hint as to when this takes place.
No.
And as far as for based on current minimum 50 years in the future.
I want to say that they're placing it after the Future World deal, and I want to say it's 30 something years after all of that went down, because they were talking about how they had to shut Westworld down and how old because they were explaining how old that one robot was, and she's been there since the beginning, and she had gone through everything up to this point.
Huh. See, I was under the impression that the events of the movie did not take place here, and they were talking about the park opening originally, that it's been open for 30 years, but I thought this was set in a completely separate universe.
From what I understood, this was supposed to be a retelling, a remake of the movie, and not a direct continuation.
Right. They were talking about the events that happened before, and how the one robot, she survived through all of it, that she had been basically rebuilt, but she is still the oldest one.
Well, yeah, I remember that Dolores. You're talking about Dolores, but I remember them saying that, but I don't remember them saying that the events of Westworld. I just know that they were saying since the park opened. But I don't remember them saying any, because all these malfunctions and everything that the robots are having, this seems to be new to them. This does not seem to be a problem that's ever happened before. So
they've malfunctioned before, but not in any, just a little bit going off script, maybe having a mechanical failure or some shit like that. But nothing, nothing like questioning the nature of reality or any crazy shit like that.
I mean, yes, they're still being really vague about it, but right. I get it that they have had issues before and have since then rebuilt.
Yeah, I mean,
and that one robot has been through it all.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just under the impression it was something else. So, I mean, time will tell. We'll find out for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as the whole series goes, it was written by Michael Crichton, which really should come no surprise to anybody, because this is really the precursor to Jurassic Park. Where he started getting the idea of having big, lavish, expensive, and over-the-top theme parks. This was his first one, so I thought it was kind of cool. And it was co-written, co-created by Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. And here we have where the movie... It focused on the people, right, and their experience and everything in the park, and that's really where it sat. And then it really didn't look too yes, there were some repairs and stuff. They showed you how the robots were being repaired, but they never went into the intricate details of how it all worked and the programming and all that. They didn't go into any of that. They just knew something was wrong and they were running diagnostics. That was really about it. But it was the last half hour to 20 minutes of the movie that shit went down, everything broke, and it turned into chaos, where the TV series is doing the complete opposite. They're focusing on the robots and their behaviors, their programming, their creation, their thoughts, their dreams, everything, their desires. And it's really, really interesting to me, the whole switch of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not really laying into it right now. They're still kind of, I mean, we do get a lot of human, like, insight on the one character, the Gunslinger, which he's a completely almost, he's the same character, but he's not a robot. Because in the original movie, he was a robot.
Yeah, he
In
was played by
this
Yul
show-
Brynner in the
Yes.
original movie, and he was absolutely fantastic. And I was really worried about that because I'm like, who are they going to get to play the character, the gunslinger, Yul Brynner's character in the TV series, and I'm going to be able to enjoy it as much as I did there. And here we have
They grab Ed Harris.
yeah, Ed Harris, who plays, they're referring to him right now as the Man in Black. So they're not referring to him as the gunslinger, which
No.
is interesting because it's not, the same character. It's definitely a different type of character. But yeah, like Nikki said, I like the fact that this is a guest at the park as opposed to a robot that's going like off the rails kind of thing.
Because there's no limitations in this park, and there's no like consequences for your action. You could go into Westworld wanting to be the villain and actually being the villain. And that's what's happening with this guy. Like, he doesn't care. He's shooting people because it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, and they really pulled the wool over my eyes, and I don't know about you guys, but Teddy Flood, the guy that was on the train.
Oh yeah, who was that? James Marsden.
No.
No.
I
No.
swear that was him.
No.
Marston.
Marsters. I forget his name.
No.
The guy who played Cyclops in X-Men.
I don't know.
Here, I'll look him up. So
James Marston.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
okay, yeah. I thought-
Okay. Well, I mean, okay, go ahead. I was confusing him with another person that has like a very similar name. So
But I mean, it was a great narrative they gave. Like, oh, the newcomers. Like, they're giving us the point of view of the robots. How all the guests are like newcomers to the town, coming on the train, and they love them for their stories and all this other crap. And then, like, I really thought he was going to be the main character of this show.
me too.
Right, and you have like Dolores, and she's living out her life, and you're seeing, and she's so happy. Like, he went away, and they're coming back, not knowing that this is really an AI script the whole time.
Yeah, like the way he's sitting there on the train, and you hear the one going, first time I was here, I was like, I went total white hat, with my family. Second time I came back, I went pure evil. Like, and I'm like laughing, and this guy, like, he smiles at that while looking out the window, and I'm like, okay, what's he gonna do? Is he like gonna go shoot up town square? Or, the sheriff is all like, you look like a man who can get things done. It's like, nope, not today. Like, then 20 minutes later, you find out he's a fucking robot. I'm just like,
Yeah, that was really interesting. I mean, they fooled me.
I am so glad that this was done in the first episode, right? As opposed to leading us like 7 or 8 episodes down the line thinking that this guy is real and then finding out he's a robot, because I would have like flipped my shit, like I would have been like, nope, fuck this show, I'm done. So like that's not the case, and I'm glad, but that also kind of goes to show us we have to pay attention to this kind of stuff, because we don't know who's going to be a robot and who's going to be, because in the movie, right, it was very easy to tell who the robots were because they had flaws, and the biggest flaw was their hands. They could never get the hands right.
The physical look of the hands were completely different.
And they actually referenced that, even though I didn't see the movie. I did catch a reference to that exact thing. Like, I forget, Anthony Hopkins was talking to his head programmer there, and he's like handshake used to be a dead giveaway.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
That was more the movement and the gesture and the grip and everything behind that, whereas in the movie it was the physical appearance of the hands were like wrinkled and they just did not look right. Like, you could tell just immediately on just looking that they were not right.
Yeah.
Think of it like as in you were wearing a rubber glove and it was way too big and it wasn't skin tight stretched on you, and it was all bunched up with like, creases and crinkles and everything in it. And then you see that on like a normal not even like an old person, So it was just like they couldn't get the hands right. So that is where you knew who was a robot and who wasn't. But here, you're not going to know. And they go and show you right here in the first episode They're giving you on a silver platter. Here it is. You have no idea. You know, and we're sitting here thinking the whole time going in that Teddy Flood is the main character, that he's a human, and that Ed Harris's character, the Man in Black, is the robot, and it's not. And they flip it on you so quickly, and you're just like, what is going on right now? Like, I was in shock.
Yeah.
In shock.
Yeah, they got me.
So
really good.
But really, the main character is Dolores, correct?
The main, yes, I want to say.
I would say the main robot character.
Well, this is going to focus on the robots primarily. So I want to say yes, that, you know, she's the one, but maybe as it stands right now, I'd say Robert Ford, aka Anthony Hopkins' character, the architect, is kind of the main character.
Well, he's the one pushing in updates and things that, you know, nobody else is aware of.
Oh, he's the one sneaking excess things into the updates.
Yeah.
Right. Like the newest feature and what's potentially causing, I think it's exactly what's causing everything to go haywire, is the reveries that he's adding, where they're able to access previous builds and memories and stuff like that.
Memories, yeah.
To be able to create unscripted kind of gestures, like, you know, wiping their eyes, or, you know, like quivering their lips and different
just
things
a
like
little
that.
You know, like he said, the fine details to make it seem more real. And anybody who's familiar with any kind of current programming, I mean, this is the future, who knows what the hell they thought up technique wise, will tell you that accessing previous builds and, you know, putting them into current builds and like just mixing different versions, no, don't do that. Oh,
You're gonna get bugs. You're gonna get glitches. Don't do it.
I mean, it's like, you know, 99 bugs in the code, you know, squash one bug, pass it around, and 137 bugs in the code. It's a modification of 99 bottles of beer on the wall. I don't remember the exact wording, but that's basically it.
Is this something only programmers use?
No, it was a joke I read online.
Okay,
So,
well, I should have stayed online.
And, like, it's interesting because we start seeing, like, Dolores, who clearly has memories of her father and everything, and when her father breaks down and goes haywire and they have to replace him, the next day, she just remembers that as her father the whole time. You know, like, doesn't bat an eye. But then you see at the very end of the episode, you know, when right after she went through the whole routine of how, you know, her programming was fine, she's not questioning anything, and
she's never lied to them.
She's never lied to them. She's harmless. They're saying, you know, she's the first robot. She wouldn't hurt a living thing. And then we see her swat the fly at the end, and we know all the robots sit there and let the flies land on them and walk across their eyeballs and everything because
ignore them. Yeah.
You know, they have no care about the flies.
I mean, I know now that was the symbolic whole, all the robots don't give a shit about the flies, they're not going to kill them because that's their programming. Originally, I thought that it was one specific fly and it landing, because you notice every malfunction happened after a fly landed on them.
Yeah.
Like the fly landed on the sheriff's face, suddenly the sheriff's just having a fucking stroke. Like literally a stroke.
Yeah.
Then, you know, I see the fly land at another one's, I forget whose face, the father's face, you know, Dolores' dad, and he starts, you know, questioning his existence.
Well, that's
like,
the very direct symbology of there's a bug in the programming.
Right. I mean, he's looking at this picture like, have you ever seen a place like this before? Like, you know, it's clearly a city.
But I mean, even if he wasn't malfunctioning and he saw a picture of that, he would question it. He'd be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But the fact that they're able to
remember
like little bits and parts, you know, of previous builds is going to bring these memories flooding over, and they're going to start remembering things. And it may not even be remembering things that, you know, they did in their Groundhog's Day life cycle routine, where it's just the same thing over and over every day, and the guests that interact with them change their routine. But I fear that they're going to start remembering their dream state where they're talking to the programmers.
Yeah, this whole thing, like, so far this whole storyboard reeks of AI becoming self-aware kind of thing that they're going with.
And it's different than the Terminator. Like, you're instantly going to want to relate it to the Terminator because it's like, oh, sentient robots are trying to kill.
I mean, you can't even call these AIs because, more like...
For Terminator, though, they were built as death machines that just turned on their creators and, are still death machines. These robots are built for entertainment purposes, and they're turning and becoming more violent and evil. Like we saw the one bandit, the milk bandit, I want to call him.
Yeah.
What the hell was up with that?
He got creative. But
it was a very well done scene, only because it had really great background music.
Anyway, like he drinks the milk and it starts flying out of a bullet hole, just like brilliant. I forgot where I was going with this. You were comparing it to Terminator, and I had a thought. Move on. I forgot my thought.
Okay.
I was distracted by the milk ban. Huh?
No appreciation for the music in the background of that scene.
I'm thinking of the music in the background of the scene when, the guy comes in and starts shooting up the whole town.
Yeah, like toward the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that the same scene?
No, it's a different scene.
Don't they lead into each other?
No.
Oh.
I mean, my guess is they used that scene as an excuse to take all of the robots out, the ones that were updated.
Well, yeah, they said that they were going to create this big, event so they can take all the robots out for programming and take them out of their storylines because they were building to, this big storyline, which really confused me because if they're building to this big storyline but they're set in a daily loop cycle, isn't there really big storyline going to happen every single day? I don't get it.
I imagine, the one writer guy said there's, how many hundred... Yeah, Lee. There's how many hundred concurrent storylines going on. I imagine that they could just, retire a storyline and add another one in.
Well, we have proof of that by Dolores' father. He used to be, professor in the woods that taught Shakespeare and Hamlet and all that, whatever.
Who was a cult leader.
Yeah.
And, that's what I wanted to mention. He's having a self-aware moment, or what we think, is he's questioning everything, and then he sits down in front of his maker and he starts, it turns out no, he's not becoming self-aware, he's just quoting his old character, his old program.
Yep.
And I was kind of like, damn it, I thought he was actually threatening his creator.
We wouldn't be able to have
bitch, I'm
that
gonna cut you
this early in the show. This is something that may be taking place in the end of the season, or next season or the season after or something like that. But like I said, in terms of the movie, everything was fine, and you have to have people coming to the park and interacting and see all that kind of stuff for the beginning. And then it was literally the last 20 to 30 minutes of the movie that, shit went down. Everything broke down and bad things happened. So,
yeah.
This is going to all, I think, build to the end of the season, and then, they're going to wipe it out and start again and go into season 2 or something. I don't know. Or we end season 1 in a hostage situation that goes into season 2 and they have to do reconnaissance to get them out or something. I don't know.
See, I'm thinking they're not on a daily loop, because the way that the guest system works is that Westworld is booked for a certain amount of people for a certain amount of time. So I think the storyline goes for however long those people are booked in Westworld, and then a new group of people come in and then they reset it. So if the one guy was sheriff for 2 weeks, there was a whole storyline that lasted 2 weeks until he fucking left.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed us... We don't know the period of time that passed between each loop, first off. We don't know if it was directly day after day. The other thing is, as Lee, the programmer, said, yeah, it's a daily loop, but, they can adjust and they can make adaptations. Because what if, for example... the first thing a guest does when he walks off the train is shoot the closest 5 people in town square. And, that removes those characters from those storylines right there. So it's already a different loop. We saw, Dolores, 2 different things. The first loop, she runs into Teddy. They have, their little romantic afternoon, which ends with her father getting shot and all that shit. And then, the next day, Teddy doesn't run into her.
But
so
that's
she goes
because
off to the river
a guest
and
distracted Teddy.
Yeah, exactly.
And another guest picked up the can that Teddy was supposed to pick up. So yes, there are changes based on what the guests do, but then you know, like I feel like it was on a daily loop for them because we see the Man in Black a few times, and things are looping around him, you know.
And I swear this is all his doing, because you remember the first scene we see him, you know, Dolores is screaming, you know, and he's like, 30 years and you still don't remember me. Like, hits. And now at the end, you know, he's doing some crazy shit. He's got a freaking robot scalp he's riding around with towards the end.
Yeah.
I think his end goal is to make Dolores real enough, like, to remember him.
Real enough to take home to mommy?
Real enough to take out of there and be his lady.
I don't know, but I loved the character Lee, because he's just like the narrative director, and all his coworkers can't stand him. You know, it's just like, and he's building up, and he's like orchestrating all this stuff, and he's like, watch this, guys, and he's got it like up on the big screen or whatever, and the whole, like, it's building up to this big speech, and he finally gets it. Yeah, he finally gets it, and the guest shoots him in the neck, and he's just like, no, and they're like, maybe next time, Lee, maybe next time you'll get your speech out.
See, I know this whole series is about robots, then programming going awry and stuff, and, like, you know, he shoots the guy in the neck, then he shoots, you know, the lady who just took out most of the town, and he's like, I did it! Oh my god, I just shot them! I was expecting, like, a bullet to, like, whew, slap him in the head or something, like, and that be, you know, the start of the chaos. But again, yeah, first episode, way too early.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that whole time I'm holding my breath because, you know, I watch Game of Thrones. That sort of shit happens in Game of Thrones all the fucking time. Like, you know, like, look what I just did. That's awesome. Arrow through the neck.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
So what was your guys' first impressions of Lee? Hated him or liked him?
He gave me a giggle.
I mean,
he was pretty obnoxious, so feel free to show your hate.
And it's one of those series where I'm actually going to give it time before I start hating somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, they seem to be on the cutting edge of technology. I think, for all we know, this could be 300 years in the future, and these guys are working with Stone Age tech.
Actually, I have a theory, and I'm going to throw this out early. It's a very wild theory, but, you know, it's not without a realm of possibilities of the show. That Anthony Hopkins' character, Robert Ford, is actually a robot creation of himself. That he's not actually there right now, that he may have even died for all we know. But
brain transference, you know, into a robotic body is a sci-fi way of achieving immortality. So
I didn't even mention anything about brain transference, but may just be a robot version of him. You know,
true. I gotcha.
I think it's a program. If not, I feel like someone on the staff, one of the characters that we've met already is. So
I could see it.
Very possible.
Or they all are.
Yeah, like, you know, as for his Lee, you got people working these positions. I could see how he could piss people off. You're going to either have weirdos, eccentric, you know, geniuses, or really obnoxious, arrogant people who are like, yeah, I'm the smartest person on this planet. Kiss my ass.
Well, you also see some of the builders and stuff like that. Like that one lady, she snuck a kiss in from the robot, you know, and it's more of, you know, she doesn't get to experience these robots in the way that the guests do going into the park. She's just building them, and it's a project to her. You know, it's a job. You know, and she's curious, you know, what is it that everybody sees in these things? So, you know, on one hand, I can't really blame her for it, you know. So, but
she could take some time off and go see what the fuck's going on, but
maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're not allowed to do that, you know. They may not be allowed to visit the park.
That'd be a shitty company policy.
It would, but it's possible.
Yeah.
You know? Because you know the ins and outs of the programming, and you could do stuff to manipulate, you know?
Also, I think they're stationed there, so I don't know if they have any free, because, Lee asked, I forget the character's name, you know, she seems to be like the director of operations here or whatever. He asked her, when do you rotate back home? So I'm thinking that all of these people are like, you know, let's say on a 2-month shift or whatever. Yeah. They work every single day.
Westworld is supposed to be far away from any civilization, so you would have to live there to work there. You couldn't travel back and forth every day.
No.
It's Teresa Cullen, I think is her name.
Okay.
So, Yeah, there's that, and then we had Ashley Stubbs, who was played by Chris Helmsworth's younger brother.
Which one?
Um,
Liam?
yes.
Luke.
Is it Luke?
It's Luke Hemsworth.
Yes, Luke Helmsworth. Knew it began with an L. And I mean, he's the head of security. He monitors the host and human interaction. We had Bernard Lowe, who was the head of programming and creator of the artificial robots and stuff. He's the one that goes and talks to Robert Ford in the basement and stuff like that, you know, like. So, we saw that, and then we had the other only really notable character that stuck out to me was Clementine, which was one of the prostitutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but outside,
She's the one in the green dress, right? I can't think of her name right now.
I think
The
so.
actress. She's a really. I've seen her in so many other things.
She's been
Angela
Yes.
Serafin.
Yes.
Yeah. What else?
She's
what else
been
was
a
she in?
lot of things.
No,
Nah,
not her. That's
not
not the
her.
one I was thinking.
Oh. No, I don't know.
Go back. See if she's on here. I know who Nikki's talking about because I've seen her in a
lot of-
ton of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm gonna
Yeah,
pull
no,
up like
this
the
is-
full cast.
This was the only
I know
notable
her name.
prostitute that they had on the show. So
Maeve Millie. Fandy Newton is the actress's name.
Yes.
She was in the second Mission Impossible. She's in the TV series Rogue and The Slap. We watched The Slap at one point. I don't remember what else she was in. She was. I know why you recognize her. She was the crazy lady in Riddick. One of the the one who was constantly like all up in Carl Urban's shit.
Yeah.
Yep. She was the wife.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
The crazy wife.
Yep, yep.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies.
I don't know.
I agree.
First impressions, I'm
I'm fucking sold. I
I'm
wasn't
all
sure I was
over
gonna
the place with it. You know, like, I don't know. I really like it. I liked it a lot, but I don't know. Like, I like it, but I don't dislike it. But I'm still like cautious on it. You know what I mean?
That's why I said that it's one of those series that I'm going to give it time, because I do enjoy it. And I do like the sci-fi element with, you know, the robots and stuff. That's actually like one of my genres that I really, really like. But because it's because it's set in a Western atmosphere, I'm like really weary of it because I'm not a fan of Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, fair enough. Next episode is called Chestnut. A pair of guests, first-timer William and repeat visitor Logan, arrive at Westworld with different expectations and agendas. Bernard and quality assurance head Theresa Cullens debate whether a recent host anomaly is contagious. Meanwhile, behavior engineer Elise Hughes tweaks the emotions of Maeve, a woman in Sweetwater's brothel, in order to avoid a recall. Cocky programmer Lee Seasmore pitches his latest narrative to the team, but Dr. Ford has other ideas. And the man in black conscripts a condemned man, Lawrence, to help him uncover Westworld's deepest secrets.
okay.
So,
I mean, it's a long synopsis, but still doesn't tell us anything.
right. So the man in black, it seems like that's going to be the most interesting storyline to me right now.
Yeah.
That's the one that I'm going to be looking forward to each week, and everything else is just whatever happens. You know, I'll take it as it comes, but I'm looking most forward to the Man in Black.
I like that HBO got somebody to write an actual decent synopsis for this series. Because whenever I look for ones for Game of Thrones, it's usually 12 to 15 words.
Well,
Give
you know
the
what?
show time when it
Yes.
becomes way more popular.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Which this show had the highest starting ratings for any HBO show in the last 3 years.
All right, then.
So,
Yeah.
big success.
You know what? Yeah, but also they advertised the ever-loving shit out of this show for the last, 5 to 6 months.
This is honestly, the movie was a huge, huge movie back in the day. It was huge. right? And
Huge.
I was introduced to this movie through my father, and I loved it instantly, so that was many, many years ago. Hundreds of years ago. I don't know. But no, but I'm just really excited for this show. I've been waiting for it, and it did not disappoint. I'm weary of it because it's very different, and I don't know where they're going. That's the big thing, but that's not a bad thing. But that's why I said I'm weary of it. So, all in all, I give it a 10 out of 10.
I probably enjoyed it more because I didn't watch the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would have enjoyed the,
I'm sure I would have enjoyed it, but now I have no basis for comparison going in. I'm, clean slating it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm actually glad I went back and I watched the movie because it allows for comparison so that you can see how far that this series is going to take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you see, the animals and stuff. Like in the movie, you had I think it was a snake, right? It was a rattlesnake.
There was a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
All the horses were animatronic
but
as
the
well.
Rattlesnake was the first thing that attacked one of the guests. It malfunctioned and bit a guest. Where you see in the movie theater, in the TV series, it's more than just the snake and the horse. We saw that they have the horses, they have dogs. There's other animals, and who knows how far they've gone, with robots at this point. So.
Well, I mean, animals are really unpredictable, even if they're trained well. So, I mean, you would have to have them on the same system as your humanoid robots, right? Because the whole.
But I'm just saying, I don't know what they've actually programmed. Like, are the birds animatronic? Like, we don't know the detail in which they've gone thus far. You know?
They would have if you can't predict an animal, like a crow can't swoop down and poke somebody's eye out. The whole lure of Westworld is humans can't get hurt.
No, I know that, but you can program the crows to not swoop down and attack people.
He's right.
If there's you can, but if it's a real crow, a real one, that goes against the whole you can't get hurt in Westworld.
Right.
Because if there's a real bird, you're gonna get and it swoops down at you and hurts you. It kind of goes against policy.
How do they keep real birds out? Like, seriously.
We don't even know where the park is. We don't know if it's contained inside of a dome. We don't know if it's even on Earth. We don't know anything about this,
They never went into that in the movie either.
Right.
Although you went to this facility, you had to take this tram to the place. I mean, it was very, very secretive. So who knows?
Ambiguity, I like it.
For all we know, Westworld could be taking place on the moon. Like, we don't know.
I was gonna say that exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wish I had the orchestral version of Painted Black to play for our outro because that was fantastic.
Yes,
and
but
I told you earlier today, I'm listening to it, singing it in my head, and I'm like, why don't I know this song? Like, I'm singing the chorus in my head as it's playing. I've heard the song 1,000 times. I know it's the Rolling Stones. But I'm like, what's the name of the song? Who's the artist? Why can't I remember this? And hindsight, it's because that blonde lady was blowing people away with, android precision accuracy. But
yeah, well, so you have the song and the orchestra, and it's obviously different. It's very different from the Rolling Stones version too.
Oh, and yeah.
I'm sitting there going, this sounds very familiar. And it had a Star Wars, John Williams type of composition feel to it to me. And then familiar. All the Star Wars songs are very familiar. No, it's not I've watched Star Wars a million times and that's why it's familiar. They just have a familiar sound to them, even hearing it for the first time, And this song had that familiar, so I instantly went to, this sounds like a John Williams composition piece. And it's going, and as it's going, I start humming along with it. And I'm like, this is a really good piece. What is this? I want to... And then all of a sudden, I was just like, holy shit, this is Painted Black! It was just
I wish
this
John was with
moment.
us right now, because he's gonna just shit a brick when he hears that.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear what John has to say.
Yeah. So John did not have time to watch this week. John will be joining us, hopefully, for next week. If not, he will be joining us soon-ish with the series. But I can't wait, and I want to see what this goes. There's only going to be, what, 10 episodes season
8.
1? 8 to
8?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Wait.
It's either 8 or 10.
I'm gonna look.
So, 10.
It's not gonna be long. It's 10?
Yes, it's 10.
Yeah.
So,
Alright.
it's around average for an HBO series, so.
And I remember reading somewhere, and I hope that this isn't, true. I remember reading somewhere that it's only gonna be one season.
I don't think so.
I mean,
wasn't that what they were saying about The Walking Dead too? That it was like a test thing, that it was possibly only going to be one season, and now look at there's like a bazillion seasons. So I think it's HBO. They're going to take it into the second season because it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
They want to make money.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So, Mike, where can the people find you?
They can find me on the Twitter at Philidren, THILLADREN.
Nice. Nikki, where can the people find you?
They can find me on Twitter as well at LadyVenom24, LADYVENOM24.
You can find me down below at Phenomenon, PHENOMEDOM. And you can find us all and more on Facebook, Gmail, G+, Twitter, and right here on YouTube at /ASOTV podcast for some more podcasts for some of your favorite TV shows, games, and movies. Until next time, see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Laters. Pew, pew.
Is that trying to show us that you guys aren't robots?
Yes.
Totally.